This is The Yay. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is The Yay, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay!
We are sponsored by Central Works, a new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Jans Leifler. Central Works, reinventing theater one play at a time. As always, we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring The Yay and our wonderful consulting producer, Mallory Samara. And we have a fantastic guest, William Bivins. Bill, William, which one can I call you?
You can call me Bill. William's my official name on programs and so forth, but my friends call me Bill. So
right on. Well, Bill, how are you doing today? How are you doing this? We're recording this Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. I guess it's 6, but it's still nice out. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. And we've got, of course, Norman here. And you are the creator. I think you're the creator of Apocrypha Media and its podcast, Pulp Scripture. We're going to talk about Pulp Scripture. It's a wonderful, it's a unique way of listening to verses of the Bible with an audio drama twist. And I've had a lot of fun listening to several of the episodes. They're really, really small episodes, but they're very.
I'm jealous. I want to do one or two.
Yeah, the link is there.
Well,
but you are the creator of Apocrypha Media. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah, I am. Yeah, sorry. I set it up to do this, to make podcasts, audio dramas, audio plays, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, I did, and it's all like a pandemic driven thing, basically.
Yay.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. You know, it's interesting. We've had a lot of folks on the Yay who have talked about their transitioning into doing Zoom recordings and all of the little things that they're doing during the pandemic, and it's wonderful to have art create during the restrictions that we have. A lot of folks complain about restrictions. They're like, well, I can't create anything because, I'll just wait until after all of this is over. But then there are some folks like you who are like, you know what, I'm going to do something anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured, theater, at least at the beginning, seemed like it was dead for a while. And I don't want to say that because it's not, but, and I was not a huge fan of the stuff I was seeing on Zoom theater just wasn't doing it for me. So I kind of decided to go in this direction.
No, that's awesome. And we'll talk more about that. Norman, as I begin every podcast, how was your week?
Well, the reason that we are working on Tuesday is because this is my weekend all of a sudden. It's crazy. So I've been doing Gene O'Neill. They sponsor a summer retreat, 2 weeks
at the bar.
High school theater students. And so we've been up there, Leticia, Natalie Rich, and I have an intern, Penelope Brown, PJ Brown. She likes to go by PJ. They like to go by PJ. I'm learning a lot about pronouns. But we've gotten through our first week. The first week ends with our young writers cranking out pieces. So I've got to make notes tonight and send it to them. And then tomorrow we're going to put casts together and start rehearsing. And then next Sunday, we will perform those plays for usually we say friends and family. This year, we're just saying family because we need to keep the numbers down. And I just talked to somebody who was teaching at Cal State East Bay, said he was interested in getting more involved with the foundation. So he's going to come up and coach one of the scenes for me. Normally we would say friends and family. This time it's just friends. And we'll do a little show on Sunday. I mean, not just friends, just family.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah.
We'll do a little show on Sunday. So yeah, it's been taking up almost all my bandwidth.
Is it Natalie Rich? She was the one she was part of our Bad Summit. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. I know. I remember that name.
So we met through this program a few years ago. She has in the last year gotten to do a few things with Playground, I think with Central Works. So, this has been a nice association. I'm feeling pretty proud.
Very nice. And when is it over? I mean, when is it finished?
Sunday we will do a show at 1:00.
Right
Sunday, on. And then we will say goodbye to them and start talking about next year. We're just grateful to be back in person. We did we do a little weekend thing in the spring, and I cut that down to 1 day, and we did that on Zoom. And I've got volunteers and people from the board coming to me and saying, that went so well. I'm like, I hated it. I hated it.
Yeah,
So
no, it's always nice to have, to do things, face to face. It's,
yeah.
it doesn't, nothing beats being in person. There've been a couple of current events. Barbara Boxer, I don't know if you heard about this, but the former Senator Barbara Boxer was mugged in
Yeah.
Jack London
Oh yeah.
yesterday.
In your neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tragic. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but apparently there are these individuals who, I guess, someone will walk down the street and they'll grab your cell phone or knock you over or steal something, a purse. I think
Right.
women are targeted, and then they jump into a car and then zoom off. I mean, I've heard a couple of these things happen.
Yeah.
So, folks just gotta, be careful.
What's weird is, and I'm wondering where she was coming from, because I bumped into her last reelection. Tells you how long ago it was. The day after her last reelection, I went to the Oakland Grill, which is right down there on 3rd Street, right near Jack London
Matter of
Square.
fact, it was on third. It was on third.
I figured. See, she likes that place. Bumped into her there, got to take a picture with her. I'm like,
Wow.
"Ooh,
Yeah. So yeah, I just hope that
this was
thing.
less positive."
Yeah. And there are other things going on. A man gets 5 years for swatting death. I don't know if you guys have heard about swatting, but basically it's I don't know what
It's
millennials,
spanking.
huh? Not no, not
Spanking?
exactly. But what happens is folks who play video games or whatever, they'll speak to each other online. I'm sure Dexter does this all the
Right.
time, and they'll call the cops to say, "Oh my God, I'm at this address. There's an individual who's got a gun, and you need to go there immediately." And the SWAT people will go to that place and, of
Right.
course, realize nothing's happening at all. Well, an individual actually had a heart attack and died. And so a person was sentenced 5 years for calling SWAT on that individual. It's been
I
going
think
on.
I
Norman, you froze. Norman, you there? Did everybody freeze?
I am still here. I
Okay.
think I don't see myself, so I'm not sure I'm here, but
Yeah, you
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 can
are
hear
totally.
me.
Yeah, you're totally there, and I guess Norman will come back. But
Okay.
there's been also other things, like there's a water crisis going on. Salt Lake and Lake Powell in Colorado have fallen to their lowest levels,
Oh,
and
so
that's a bit
scary.
concerning. Bill, are you worried? Well, let me ask you: how have you been dealing with COVID-19? Are you healthy, wealthy, and wise? And are you worried about the Delta variant?
Well, I don't know about, I'm healthy, let's put it that way. I don't know about the others. Yeah, I am worried about the Delta variant. For a hot minute there, it looked like we were opening up again, and I was, I'm fully vaccinated, of course, and I was going out without a mask, and now I go everywhere with my mask again. So yeah, it's a little troubling. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. In San Francisco, like we're up to whatever it is, 80 in the Bay Area, what, 75, 80% vaccinated of
Yeah,
adults or something like that.
yeah, that's right.
But we're still getting spikes. Like, what's going on with that? I mean, I know we have, there are still people obviously in certain communities that are not vaccinated, but still, I'm putting on my mask in grocery stores for sure.
Yeah, and psychologically, I do wonder because, we, of course, all of us were tense because we didn't know much about COVID-19 and we were intense on when we're going to get the vaccine. And now that a lot of us have gotten the vaccine, now there's indecision as far as this Delta variant. Like there are folks who are, excuse me, getting infected even though they're vaccinated. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, is it the vaccine? Did you get the Johnson vaccine? Did you get the good vaccine, the bad vaccine?
right.
So it's and I guess
Yeah,
we'll just keep talking until Norman gets in. But there's
okay.
another thing that's going on. There's mental health. I've been following the Olympics, and the big news today was Simone Biles had dropped
I
out
know, I
of the. I
know.
think she can still do the individual. She can go for the individual gold, but as far as the team took a
Yeah,
silver medal, which we're spoiled as Americans. We want to win all of the gold and all that stuff.
exactly.
But it
Yeah,
opens up a question about mental illness. I mean, not mental illness, but mental health. Whether an athlete can say, I need to step away. Um, I know the crowd wants me
yeah,
there. There's Simone Biles. There's also Naomi Osaka, who had dropped out of Wimbledon. This was earlier this summer for the same
right.
reason. And there have been a
Yeah,
couple of, I remember in football, there was a guy named Barrett Robbins who played for the Raiders, and he was about to go for the Super Bowl, and he dropped out at the last minute. So I do wonder about the mental
Yeah.
health and that
Yeah, I
aspect.
was thinking about that today. I heard a short interview with Simone Biles's coach today, and talking about how much pressure she's under. I mean, she seems so unflappable, and she's just so perfect at what she does. But I mean, that level of, perfection has to just lead to just even more pressure. So I can't imagine what they're going through. Her, Naomi Osaka, yeah.
Yeah, and it's we expect our athletes to be superheroes, and there's this very male driven belief that you play injured, and no pain no gain. And
Right.
I think we have to, and these new millennials, Norman is back. um
Oh, good.
this new generation is like, hey, listen, I'm not going to take my mental health for granted,
Right.
and I'm going to focus on that, and I'll just keep talking. Norman will chime in, but
Okay,
I
I'm
think it's
chiming in.
but
Hey, Norman,
I
good
think
to
it's a
see you
healthy thing.
again.
Hey there.
Hey,
I didn't know if
George.
it was me or you or whatever,
No,
but
it's
I'm
the
glad.
computer. It's my computer. I
Yeah.
hopefully will survive long enough for us to get through this, and I'll figure out what's going on.
Yeah, we were talking about mental health. We were talking about Naomi Osaka, but also Simone Biles. She dropped out of the group women's
The
gymnastics.
team, yeah, the team events, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh, so she's still doing the individual events then?
Oh
I b-
yeah, no, she wants her medals.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
good, good.
But
Okay.
Bill and I were talking, Norman, about today's millennials are like, hey, listen, the whole no pain, no gain thing, that may work in the past, but we're going to take care of our mental health. I talked about
Right.
Naomi Osaka. She dropped out of Wimbledon because of mental health.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I'm thrilled.
yeah.
Yeah, I was for it too. I mean, she, there's no reason that she has to give these press conferences, especially in this day and age with social media
Right.
and so forth. So it's like, I was all for that.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah. Go ahead. Go
ridiculous.
ahead,
It's
Norman.
clearly just it's theater. They want to have some theater. It's not enough to play the game. You got to give them a little bit of that. Didn't some basketball player do it this year where he was just like, no, I'm not talking to you. Oh, we lost. Yes, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I do remember that. And like I said, as the consumer, the audience, we consistently want our athletes to just be supermen and superwomen and
Yes.
not have any feelings at all. And I think this new generation is letting us know we have emotions, we have feelings, and we're going to take care of that. And we're not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to get eaten up, and then we get an injury and we get pushed aside, and then you guys cheer for the other athlete. So
Well,
Right.
good
they
for
talked about with Simone Biles that the media keeps covering, oh, they didn't do that well getting into the Olympics. Oh, they came in second.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy. Um, a couple of other things. I also mentioned the water crisis that Salt Lake City and Lake Powell and have dropped to their lowest levels. I do worry about
Oh,
climate change. That's been a recurring thing going on. Also, Herschel Walker. I don't know if you heard. He's considering running for Republican senator for Georgia. I
yeah.
tell you, when we won, as a Democrat, I consider us Democrats, but when we won Georgia and took over, the House, I tell you, the Republicans just went totally tilt, and so now
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just bringing out the big guns, and now they're trying to bring up Herschel Walker, who was a former running back,
So he's going to run against who?
whoever.
Raphael Warnock
Yeah, I suppose so.
or
Whoever,
for
whoever the
governor?
Democrats, yeah, for,
Oh,
senator. He's
It
running
would,
for senator.
Warnock then. It's
I think
Warnock.
it would be Warnock. He's the one who's
Yeah.
up next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh, right. We got to get a black guy to go up against the black guy because we're
Yeah.
not racist.
The ultra conservative black guy who has a history of domestic violence.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I didn't know he was a Republican, and I didn't know he was a politician. So there you go.
and the connection with Trump is, when Trump owned the USFL, he owned the I think it was the New Jersey Generals, and of course, who was their star running back? Herschel Walker. So
Aha.
who knows? All right, enough of
Old
that.
friends. You totally skipped the insurrection.
Oh, that's right. Boy, those hearings were just
Oh, yeah.
gut wrenching, and who knows? Maybe it'll, of course, it went to inject some consciousness into the Republicans, to see if they have any semblance of a
If they
heart.
have any. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I,
But
I listened to part of, is it Officer Fanone, that the fellow who's on.
The Latino, right? I believe so.
No,
Oh,
he's not a Latino. Well, I can't remember his first name. He's on MSNBC a lot. He's going out sort of making a case for what's, for having the truth come out. But he gave a powerful. He's the one who had a heart attack. He was tased a bunch of
right.
times, and
He
Oh, wow.
described
that guy,
Well,
that
okay.
guy,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I heard two
yeah.
guys, and I mean, all of it was emotional. And the Republican who headed up I guess he's a bipartisan Republican who just had tears in his eyes. I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh,
Kinzinger.
Yeah,
Kinzinger,
yeah,
Kinzinger. Yeah.
Kinzinger.
yeah.
Just, I
He
mean, that's,
did. He was trying to speak. He was crying. I was like, wow.
yeah,
Wow.
very powerful. I mean, we think that, for those who think, oh, all Republicans are evil and all Democrats are good, or on the flip side, all Democrats are bad, or whatever, we're seeing some really good bipartisan work. And it's good to see that in Congress. It's good to see that this is democracy in action. I mean, it's horrible what happened January the 6th. I can't even believe that it happened this year. It feels,
Right.
so far away, but
Right.
we're not letting it up. I mean, we're not, Republicans may say, oh, let's just move on. No, 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 no. We're not going to move on. People
Right.
died
Yeah.
and people were
Yeah.
hurt, and justice needs to be
And the
done.
foundations of democracy were under attack.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm glad that there were at least two Republicans there, Kinzinger and Liz Cheney.
Liz
But
Cheney.
it'd be nice if there were a few more like reasonable Republicans who were telling the truth. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll put that aside.
No, no, no. I mean, what does Shakespeare say? Conscience doth make cowards of us all. I wish it were true, but it is what it is. And with that, William Bivins, let's have an origin story. Where were you born and raised?
Born and raised born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, raised there and partially in New York. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
Wow.
Las Cruces.
How did you get involved in theater when you were young?
No, I didn't. I'm trying to remember well, so I got into theater kind of sideways. I was writing screenplays, and I was not really I was working with a writing partner, Ken Karn, for a number of years. And back in the late 90s, early aughts, I kind of just did a pivot. We had this screenplay that was getting a lot of options. So it was very encouraging. People wanted to produce it. And in fact, people are continuing to want to produce it. It was supposed to be finally produced right before the pandemic, and the production company pulled it, and they declared a force majeure, the force majeure clause.
I've heard the term, but I don't know what it means.
It's basically act of God. It's like, okay, we're in a pandemic, we can't shoot this. And so, yeah, but anyway, yeah, that was a vampire Western that we wrote called Rio Sangre.
Wow. No, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I kind of think of it as the screenplay that won't die, because it's anyway, but I'll
So
leave
wait a
that
minute. So
aside.
you started off writing screenplays. How did you get into that?
I did. I don't remember. Oh, I went to film school at De Anza a number of years ago, back in the early 90s, just as a kind of I don't know, just for fun. And so I started getting more and more serious about it, and produced a short movie that went on to win an award at a festival. And then I realized, well, this is really expensive and a lot of works. So why don't I write screenplays and get somebody else to produce them? So I got into that in that way. And then, as I say, in the late 90s, I was getting frustrated. I wasn't living in LA, and I realized that's one of the problems. If you're not living in LA, it's kind of hard to get any traction in that business as a screenwriter.
You're not having lunch at the right places.
Yeah, not schmoozing with the right people or going to the right parties or whatever. So I just decided, I had this weird dream that involved Sam Shepard playing basketball and doing bank shots. And I realized, oh, okay, like he's kind of telling me in the dream I should write a play and see what happens. So so I started writing a play, got involved in a playwriting workshop, the Will Dunn dramatic writing workshop.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know Will
Yeah,
Dunn?
the Magic?
No, he's been doing it in different venues, but he did
Okay.
actually, he was at the Magic for a little while, I think,
At one point, yeah.
as a venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I got into it that way, and yeah, the Pulp Scripture bit was well, the stories that ended up making up Pulp Scripture started out as a stage play, and that was I was just sort of playing around with the idea of making fun of some of these weird Bible stories. And the church that I was going to at the time, I had one of the plays done at one of their retreats, and they thought it was a short play that I did called Abraham and Isaac Go Camping, and
Oh,
they thought it was
yeah.
they thought it was funny enough that they commissioned me to write a bunch of other ones. So that's how that got started, and
That's
it
very
ended
cool.
up going up at the San Francisco Fringe Festival in 2009. And then
Oh
after
wow.
that, it
Did you
went
play
to,
at the Exit Theater?
no, this was one of their, I think they call it off venue events. It was at the Phoenix Theater.
Oh, the
Oh,
Phoenix. Yeah,
nice.
Linda Ayers Frederick's little
Linda
area.
Air, exactly. Yep. Yeah. And then after that, it got a follow-up production at Piano Fight. I don't know if you guys know Piano Fight.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah.
We love Piano Fight.
And now it's here at the Jack London.
It's both.
Piano Fight is, you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there, so is there still a Piano Fight in San Francisco? Because I
As
thought they
far
had.
as I know, they have kept that space. And I mean, that's
Ah.
what the publicity was saying.
Okay, so
But
they've
they are
expanded.
now on Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you did the Piano Fight in William, this was in San Francisco.
correct. This was back when they had a small theater, actually a couple of theaters across the hall from each other on
Yeah.
Mission Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that space.
No. Oh, yes, maybe close to the corner of Fifth,
Yes, exactly.
between Fifth and Sixth on Mission.
On the same block as the Chronicle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the I should mention the Fringe production was directed by the great Kim Richards, and then the Piano Fight production was directed by Christy Crowley.
Mm.
But,
Very
yeah,
nice.
it was a lot of fun.
I have tons of questions on Pulp. On Pulp, I was about to say Pulp Fiction. Pulp Scriptures.
Everybody does that.
Well, I guess that's the.
I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But as far as writing is concerned, what is it about writing that sort of grabbed you? I'm sure, you were in college and you were like, well, let me just go ahead and do this thing. But then something grabbed you. Is there something about writing? Have you always been a writer?
I have, on and off, and in different forms. I've tried my hand at stories, mostly short stories, and as I mentioned before, screenplays. I've written a bunch of screenplays or co-written a bunch of screenplays. Yeah, I mean, I realized I'm not very good at the short story form, so I gave that up. But yeah, I just somehow eventually gravitated towards writing for the stage. I felt that it was a lot more freeing than writing for movies, because
I'd
it's
always
not photographic.
I'd always wanted to see, the I guess what transition you may have had in your mind from writing from the screen to writing plays. Because I imagine it's similar, because there are all sorts of plays, or I'm sorry, movies that are derived from plays. Like you mentioned Sam Shepard. He's had a lot of his plays transitioned into movies. I'm also thinking, who did Glenn Ross? I'm always forgetting his name.
David Mamet.
David Mamet, yeah, of course. And Mamet, that's another. And some of your best, I think of 12 Angry Men. That's another play that was adapted to the screen, and it adapts very well. But is there a transition, Bill, in when you transition from writing for the screen to the play?
Well, other than that dream I mentioned, I guess I realized, well, I did have this revelation about this writing for the screen when I realized that it's a photographic medium, and it really demands kind of a sense of realism. Well, it doesn't demand as much from the audience in terms of the audience having part of the story happen in their mind. And I think I realized about that when I thought about The Elephant Man, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
a really good movie, David Lynch.
Hmm.
I forgot who played the Elephant Man. Was it John Hurt?
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is John Hurt. Yes.
yeah, it's a really good movie, but it's all makeup. It's all like they have to be literal with it. Before I saw the movie, I was lucky enough in the early 80s to see the stage play on Broadway.
Right. Thank
David
you.
Bowie, yeah, David Bowie was, there was like a spotlight on David Bowie. He was wearing this loinclothy thing that looked like a cloth diaper,
Right.
but otherwise not wearing a thing. And a narrator described David Merrick, the Elephant Man, in vivid detail. And as he was describing it, David Bowie's body began to contort. And as an audience member in my mind, by the end of that narration, I no longer saw David Bowie. I saw David Merrick, and there was something really magical about that. And so
Oh my God.
the
Yeah.
juxtaposition between those two productions, to me, kind of encapsulates the difference between movies and stage plays. And
I am so happy to hear you say that. And you gave a great example. I often use, and I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the title, Prelude to a Kiss.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Similar
Alec
to the
Baldwin
point
did the
where,
movie part of it, I think. Go ahead.
well, that's the thing. I've never seen the movie and I should, because I talk major shit about it. And it's only because I know what that would be on stage. And I know what movie magic does, but it's not the same thing. When the wind comes up and the lighting suddenly gets overcast and there's a music that comes in underneath, and you can do a lot of those techniques on stage, but when you see the actor in front of you have a moment, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always felt that. I mean, as a writer, I think that film writers write what people do. I mean, you can disagree I think that film writers write about what people do, and playwrights write what people say. I think it's more dialogue driven. And I've also always felt that as an actor, I'm using far more energy on stage because I'm always, they always say you got to play to the back of the audience. And so I've always felt there's so much more energy um, on the stage rather than, there have been times where I've been on the camera and I was told, put your eyes here, don't look
Right.
here,
Right.
because the camera captures everything. And so it's almost minimalistic because the camera's doing everything. But I don't know, as an audience, I mean, just watching a film is very different from watching the stage. I mean, you are active as a audience member. I'm sure you feel the same way, Norman, right?
Excuse me, sorry.
You okay? But I mean,
No,
but
I mean
as
it's very different styles. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm in no way want to shit on film. There's so many things that film does that the stage can't touch and that are transcendent. And I think that is part of what we want to do, is we want our audience to have an experience that is transcendent. So, how do you best do that? But I'm fascinated that Bill went from screenplays to stage, because it would seem to me the other direction is
Yeah, a lot of folks
probably
are
where
doing the
most
opposite direction.
writers
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Pulp Scripture. I mean, was this I take it you're religious. I mean, I'm a Christian myself. Was this sort of a basis on a new take on how to, I guess, connect people to the word?
No, not really. It's more just me kind of goofing on the Bible and having some fun.
Okay.
I'm not,
Right.
I'm not, I mean, I have gone, I went to church more when my kids were little. And so I wouldn't say I'm super religious, but I was raised in the Episcopal Church, and I had that kind of education. So, I was forced to read the Old Testament, and I just remember thinking, wow, this is some weird shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, so I always kind of carried that with me, like, really, we're kind of, putting our hand on this and swearing.
Yeah, like
Um,
Jonah and the whale and all that stuff. What was the
yeah.
inspiration for Pulp Scripture? I mean, what made, how did it come from, being in someone's mind to actually executing it?
Oh yeah. So I think it was 2005. My boys were pretty young, and I took them on this trip to Italy, and we went from one sort of museum to another, and occasionally we'd see the story of Abraham and Isaac depicted in a painting,
Oh, yeah.
and in each one of the paintings, you've got Isaac, on a rock or kneeling or whatever,
Right.
sort of waiting to die happily, with
Right.
his, and I just thought that's just phony baloney. I mean, this is not real. Come on.
Right.
And then we went to, and then in Florence we saw the oh God, what's the painter's name? Caravaggio
Oh,
version of it.
okay.
And the car and that suddenly, I mean, I don't know if you've seen that painting, but
Mm-mm.
it's an amazing painting because he Abraham has Isaac by the throat, holding him down on a rock. Isaac is turning and looking at him with this abject terror on his face, and there's an angel up over Abraham's shoulder, and Abraham's just placidly looking at the angel. And I thought, that's funny. That's, and it's and it's funny because it's real. It's like, yeah, man. I mean, if I were Isaac, I'd be like, "What, Dad? Why are you trying to kill me? What's
Right.
going on here?"
And
So
then
anyway,
and then God says, no, 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 you don't worry about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's the next episode that's coming out, but basically, God comes in and says, "This has only been a test." That sort of
Right.
thing. But
Because in the Bible, isn't it that are there different versions? Because isn't there a version where there's an angel that comes? God doesn't actually bother with this. The angel says, nope,
it is the angel. Yeah, the angel comes and says, like I said,
you were
this has
tested.
only
Yeah.
been a test. Yeah. But anyway, so that inspired me to write that little play, and then I just got, I wrote a bunch more based on, well, you've heard a few of them now, but
Yeah, I just heard of,
yeah,
I think it was a Samson. I think that was Samson and Delilah.
yeah, that was the
I think
noir
it-
one that you were referring to. I did
Yeah,
that sort of noir
exactly.
style,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I'd only listened to that one, so I was figuring all of them were like that. But it's fun, and it's very it's bite size, I call it, because there's only like 7 or 6 minutes. I mean, it's not like it's a half hour. It's very
yeah.
short.
And I don't know if that's a problem in the podcast world, because podcasts are usually like 20, 25 minutes, an hour,
Right.
or something like that, 3 hours, whatever. So I'm thinking, like, what did people do in 6 minutes? It's like, not, it's too long for a bowel movement. Like, I don't like, I don't know what, it's too short for a dog walk. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I shouldn't
I
be
don't know. I
thinking
think
about it that
I
way.
think it works. I mean, it's like, you have your gourmet meal and then you have your little snack. And I think there's some folks who are like, hey, I don't know if I can take a half hour of a Bible reading or even a funny satirical Bible reading, but maybe like a little snippet. And then they'll say, oh, let me take another one. And then, all of a sudden they burn through, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 episodes. So
Yeah. Yeah. I loved the formatting.
yeah.
Oh, good.
There's your Caravaggio.
Oh, yeah. That's in our show notes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How
Well, I
has
know he's disabled the sharing. I couldn't pop it up. I couldn't like photo bomb. Damn.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I,
It's all good.
Bill, I had a quick question for you. How has the because I know when we got into podcasting, I had to really educate myself on how to, like RSS feeds and making sure
Yeah.
the images are correct. So how has that learning process been for you? And maybe you have a tech guy doing that for
Ooh.
you, a tech guy or gal do that for
Oh,
you.
him.
Yeah, well, so first of all, my son Sam Bivins, who's a very talented musician, music producer, and he does this kind of thing too. He's very tech savvy. He did the music, and he's been helping me with the editing, all the sound effects, the sound engineering, all of that kind of stuff. So big shout out to him. I couldn't do it without him. Couldn't have recorded it without him. But then in terms of just the other stuff, like the RSS feed and all that kind of stuff, like I just kind of had to take a deep dive and figure that a lot of that stuff out. So
Also,
Yeah.
you're doing it yourself. Yeah.
I'm doing some of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, Sam's helping me out a lot with it, but like I found I found out how to, find a podcast host, and shout out to Captivate. I use them. But anyway, yeah. So, and I haven't really, like, the website I use is just it's all through Captivate. Um, so I don't know if
Yeah,
that answers
no,
your
no,
question. Yeah.
no, it's fantastic, and it's nice and clean. I think your son, he's doing a fantastic job because the audio is nice and clean, and also the music is just
Yeah.
fantastic.
No,
So
the whole thing comes off so nice. It is a nice little clean, professional sounding package.
yeah, so I think your son
Thank
has
you.
is
Thank
something
you.
he could put on his resume. How old is he?
Absolutely.
How old is he?
He's 31.
Oh, okay. Wow, you don't look. You look
Right.
31.
I was a child bride. What can I say? No.
Do you think? Do you think you'll? I mean, now that you've had a taste of theater, do you think theater is more your thing, or do you think you'll go back to film? I mean, you already have some screens that are being optioned, so. But do you think you'll delve more into theater, writing for theater?
I mean, I love all the different forms. I love theater. I love theater, and I want to get back to writing for theater. Who knows with this Delta variant? Who knows what's going to be happening?
Right.
But I'm also, and I love film, and at some point, if I'm given the opportunity, I mean, the thing is about film, it's like, like I on a shoestring, I can put together this, because I'm producing it. This podcast.
Right.
I mean, even the cheapest film is like way
Yeah.
there's,
Yes.
so somebody would have to like pay me and, put it together and produce it. And I mean, I can't imagine doing that, but this is something that's within my, within my reach. Same with stage plays. But I love all three media. They're different in really significant ways, but they're all also similar. They're all dramatic writing. They all happen in the moment for the most part. Dialogue driven.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you're right. It is similar, but I think one great thing about theater, you're absolutely right. It doesn't take as much money. I mean, sometimes I hear that even a lens of a film of a camera can cost something somewhere around, I don't know, 60 million and $60,000 or something like that. The red cameras and the all of the other things, and theater is a little bit. I mean, theater is expensive as well. Um,
yeah.
as far
Well,
as
I
the
was
process,
hoping we'd get
go ahead.
to chat a little about Scapegoat. So I don't know if Reg knows that, but that's how Bill and I met, is
Yeah.
on Scapegoat, which
How was that
was a
experience?
dream for me, and it was wonderful to watch you go through the process of evolving that play. That was a little crazy. I talk about that a lot when I'm teaching and when I'm talking to writers, because there's what you have in your head, there's where you're trying to go, and then the demands of a production. And you sort of have to go, they give you a couple of options, and unless you want to go, no, I don't like any of that, you kind of have to make choices that may not be yours at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
How was the experience for you doing Scapegoat and also just doing Playground?
Which one are you? Which one of us are you asking?
No, asking you, Bill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it was great. It was, well, first of all, it was I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to bring it up. It was wonderful working with Norman, and everybody
And
else.
it was wonderful working with you. I was amazed how flexible and creative you were.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I really put a lot of stock in working with directors who can bring a lot to the party, and you were definitely one of the top on the list for me to be working with, and that was a real pleasure, and it really, that's the other thing I love about theater is it's extremely collaborative, and not just directors, but in this case, Jim Kleinman brought a
Yeah,
lot
the
to
producer definitely had a
yeah,
vision.
absolutely. And so I took a lot from him, and as you remember, the cast had a lot to say about it,
Yeah.
and I listened to every bit of it, and I think it improved the play quite a bit. But I feel that way about all my plays, is that the rehearsal process for the premiere is for me kind of part of the writing process. Like it's you know, it's that like that final home stretch of getting the play where it needs to be.
Right. Yeah. Can you steal home base? You got the
Yeah,
third.
right.
Can you get in?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, sort of circling back to the podcast, when the pandemic hit and I was working on this brand new play about the headless horseman, sort of an experimental thing, and I thought I'm going to make you know a audio drama out of that, and then I realized, am I insane? Like I don't like, I don't have, you know, the resources of the, you know, this development process of the you know, the rehearsal and the director and all this kind of stuff. So I reached back and grabbed something that had been road tested, and that's why I did Pulp Scripture. But because it's like it had a production, it's, you know, it's been through that whole process, and so yeah. But anyway, no, Scapegoat was a great experience for me.
And we should say, so Scapegoat is a play about an African-American superhero, and his power is that he absorbs negativity. And the central character is the creator who has had a career, a successful career based on this character, but the character's gotten stale. And as a comic book nut, I can tell you, Superman kept going through this over the decades until they finally got smart, marketing wise, they got smart. But Superman changed from who he was in 1938 to, by the time I became aware of him, who he was in the 60s, who he became in the 70s. And then they didn't really know what to do with him in the 80s because he'd gotten stale. And every time they sort of updated him, they were afraid to do that and they didn't know what to do. So this is the character in the play, is somebody who has had a career based on a character who has gotten stale. And then suddenly all these shootings, you know, police shootings of unarmed African-Americans starts to blow up. And if I remember correctly, you said when you first were thinking about the play, the character wasn't even. These were not African-American characters.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I can't remember my thought process in making that switch, but yeah, no, I think that's right. If I remember this was a number of years ago. Norman, when was this? 2016, 17?
You began
18,
talking.
I think.
Yeah, you
18.
began talking about it in
No.
18.
No.
Because go ahead.
18.
Well,
Okay, got it.
so no, but I first got involved. Well, I was an actor performing a Monday night playground, and Bill had taken a scene from something he was already working on and kind of reconfigured it to fit into the theme of the night. But it was so impressive. It was a cafe scene where the writer was meeting with the cop who had shot a kid and had become the template for the villain in the piece. And he was saying, you let yourself off the hook. You made me a two-dimensional villain. And if you tell my story, then you can actually move this in a new direction. And that was all part of a Black Lives Matter night. And I loved the piece did, but that piece just caught my attention. And they asked you to write a full length based on it. And Eric Reed was directing it.
Right.
So I ended up playing the writer in the play for the read through of the first draft of this. And then Eric Reed moved to LA. So the next year he was not available to do it. And they asked me if I would direct. And I was like, that was a gift. I was so I think 2018 was when I got to direct it.
I think that's right. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you got tapped to direct it, because yeah, not only did you really deeply understand the material, but I found in the course of this, you're a comic book nerd. So that was cool.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and like I said, all this stuff about how comic books have changed, that was able to feed into that side of the character. So one of the themes in the play is that this character is suicidal. And that wasn't something I was trying to touch at all. I'm like, if you know where you're going with that, dude, you go ahead, because that's not something I'm going to claim to have any understanding of. But that writer who has been, and you see it in jazz as well. a jazz musician comes up in that first wave of jazz, and then 20 years later, when you get to bebop, they're like, who are you fucking people? And what are you doing to our music? I don't understand it. I think it's actually a Black musician who calls it Chinese music because he just doesn't understand what is going on with it. And I feel like that's where that core character was that was sort of the comic book backdrop. But the rest of the story, oh gosh, there were so many things that unfolded that I was just like, I love where this is going, and I had not a clue.
This is why I love working with you, Norman, because you come up with these amazing analogies like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing as you were talking, and I'm so glad that you guys were talking as the son. Now you can actually see my face.
Now we can see you.
Now you can see me. But I remember I had a college professor at NYU who was basically talked about Superman. He was like, you know, young kids love Superman because he can do everything and he's so protective and whatever. But as you get older, it's kind of boring because you know he's too overly built, and you know comic books. And this was around the 80s when I'm taking this class, and he's like,
Right.
no one can do anything with this character because he's too perfect, and therefore it's boring. You know, there's no story arc.
Mhm.
Well, they kept
And
developing more of the Clark Kent side.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
why is Mr. Powerful wasting his time putting on a suit and going to a job?
Yeah. But it sounds like during the rehearsal process, there were discoveries made which actually, you know, helped strengthen the play. There were things that, you know, it's not just the playwright saying, hey, this is my idea.
Right.
Go
No,
execute my
and I would
idea.
totally agree with Bill. Jim kept coming at us.
Mhm.
There's something missing. You're missing an opportunity. What do you want to do about this? And again, I'm like, I hear what you're saying, Jim, but number one, I'm really not trying to write the playwright's play. I want to know where the playwright wants to go. If I feel like something's missing, I'm going to say to the playwright, do you have an answer for this? Because otherwise I'm going to make this connector. But
Yeah.
but I want to know where you're trying to go with it.
Yeah.
And here's an interesting question for you, Bill, because you've been in the writing, I guess the what do they call it, the think tank process of writing. Let's say you're writing with a collaborator,
Development.
both for television or the screen, and
Mhm.
also for theater. Do you see a difference between the two? And I think there are a lot of people who are listening to this. We've had a couple of playwrights who want to transition into screen, but they don't know the difference. They don't know, you know, what is the writing process like for writing for the screen. But as far as like you've had a collaborator help write a screenplay,
Mhm.
and you've gone through the collaboration process in the play, are there any differences?
Yeah, there are some pretty significant differences. Well, first of all, what people who are thinking of doing this need to understand is that in the theater, the playwright is I don't want to say God, but the playwright is
The
looked up
Bible.
to, revered,
yeah.
like in movies, the screenwriter's maybe a notch above gaffer, like
Yeah.
it's maybe, or the cleaning person, or say, you know,
Right.
I mean, really, it's just, and that's reflected also in the copyright law because the, you know, movies are sort of a carve out in the copyright law in the sense that you don't own the material, whereas every other, you know, poetry, short stories, novels, plays, the writer owns the material in perpetuity. That is not true in screenplays. So people need to understand that. But you asked in terms of collaboration. I mean, you know, there are playwrights who collaborate. It's probably less common than in writing a screenplay, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. I have never collaborated in the writing process in writing a play. However, it's, you know, we talked about with a few minutes ago. I mean, I feel like the rehearsal process with the director, the producer, the actors, that's extremely collaborative. But that's more like you get feedback and then you respond to that feedback and do rewrites and so forth. With when you work with a co-writer on a screenplay, you're, you know, somebody's working on a section or a draft, and somebody, so it's a very different animal. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, no,
No,
no, it does. Because when when I hear about what you and Norman and the writers, I mean, when in the actors in Playground, that I mean, it really is a writing collaborative because although you're working the play and the play is already written, but there's still discoveries to be made, and maybe you'll make some changes based on those discoveries. You'll say, well, hey, I learned something during that rehearsal process. Let me change a couple of things to make it better or something like that. So I almost
Exactly.
consider it like a writing collaborative, like, as if the actors and the director.
Yeah. Well, you're a
somewhat.
writer as well, right, Reg? I mean,
Yeah.
what have you found?
Well, I've never written for the screen, so that's why I'm sort of
I got
asking
it.
you.
Okay.
But a lot of us playwrights, I mean, we're basically isolated. We just work on our own. But
Mhm.
then we have then we have the readings. Like when I did Foreman in Paris, there were 3 readings that I went through. And even during the rehearsal process, when we actually put it on production, I had to go through a writing process to, iron things out. And Norman was very good in the collaborative process to say, hey, listen, this doesn't make sense. Can we rework 3-3? Because I don't understand why Ellen is going to,
Why are we
London.
seeing this scene again? Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
What's going to be new?
Right.
And that's important. And I was asking, whether that's a parallel in the screenwriting process.
It sounds to me like in screenwriting, you kind of have to get to a place where you feel comfortable enough to be putting it out there that once they get it, it's going to become different as
Oh, yeah.
opposed to you getting to being invited in to make adjustments after they've said, yeah, we want your screenplay.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. In fact, we're with Rio Sangre, we're experiencing that right now because so like when you're writing a play, all anybody can do, the director, the producer, whoever, is make suggestions, is say, you might want to think about this, or you might want to try this, or you might want to cut this scene out, or whatever.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you have the final say. You are the god of your
Yeah.
material. Um, it's totally not like that with screenplays. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, there's a joke, like a producer reads the screenplay. This is perfect. This is the most perfect screenplay I've ever seen in my life. Who are we going to get to do the rewrites? Like,
Right.
Oh God.
that's what it's like. It's like
It
they
sounds
take
like
it.
it sounds like the
take,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say they if they option it or buy it or whatever, they take it from you. It is not yours anymore in
Right.
any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think Rio Sangre has a new title right now. It's
Oh,
been rewritten by other people.
that's a fun ass title.
I know, right? I'm like, what?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good title, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it sounds like once you've, I guess, once you've sold it, once you've sold it, then it's not yours anymore. And it sounds like producers, really control everything.
That's right.
Yeah. And maybe you want to rise to the level. I mean, for those budding screenwriters to rise to the level where you can produce your own stuff
So
that you've
Oliver
written.
Stone, right? Isn't that Oliver Stone's
Yeah.
trajectory?
And Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan. Yeah.
yeah,
That came in on that side, said, wow, I don't like this limitation. Let me get on the other side of the table.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, if you get on the other, I shouldn't say the other side of the camera,
Well,
but
the producing side.
if you get on the producing side, it is a totally, you are then the author of the work, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
But
different thing.
getting there is half the fun. Yeah. It's a a tough climb.
Fun.
Yeah. Oh, but I do hasten to add that I haven't experienced this myself because I haven't had a movie yet produced, but the flip side of not having any of that power is that you make a lot of money. so, so yeah, as a
Yeah.
screenwriter, I should say,
Right.
versus
No.
being a playwright. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We always use the analogy that the play for the playwright is like a baby. And we've even talked, like I mentioned to Jeannie Baroga had told a story where one of her plays was being done in, I think, New Hampshire. And they had made so many changes that she was furious. And she was like, I'll never do that again. And I guess you still feel ownership of the child,
Right.
although
Oh, yeah.
given someone else the child to produce, it's still your child. And I imagine that analogy doesn't work at all in film.
No. That's about right.
No, you gave your child up for adoption, and
And you
30
got
years
paid
later
and
they
got
come
paid for it.
looking for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get paid for it. You might be able to see your child once or something.
Wow.
Oh, I wrote that piece. Yeah, the one play, and then they held onto that little piece. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I got story by credit. That's it.
right. I want to be respectful of people's time, so it's almost 7. One last thing. Where do you
Well,
see
let
yourself?
me,
Go ahead.
the only thing I want to make sure we touch on is we're having this conversation partly because John Flanagan reached out. And
Yeah,
he's in Adam and Eve, right?
he is. He
Oh
is. Yeah.
my God. And
Shout out to Johnny. Yeah.
we did a Hamlet, and he got to play Claudius, the king, the uncle who has gotten in Hamlet's way.
Oh, I saw this. The
Okay.
Arabian Shakespeare when
Yeah,
you were
yeah, yeah.
Polonius. Yeah, I
So I
loved
want to
him.
make sure that we acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a cadre of actors that you have pulling into this. Like, I'm totally throwing my hand up. I am happy if you want to have somebody, please grab me. I am not in the recording union at all. I'm happy to do it. But
That's
no,
awesome, man.
to have
That's
those
good to hear.
voices that you can pull in and go, wow, I'm working on this, and I kind of know I can throw it at somebody. Has that been a part of your process at all?
Yeah, well, so I mean, I'm glad you mentioned this because I wanted to give a shout out to my cast, including Johnny Flanagan. Can I do that real quick?
Please.
Sure.
Lizzie,
No.
yeah, you got Sally Dana, who also, by the
Sally
way,
Day.
Sally
Yeah.
Dana.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you listen to the second episode and the third episode, she's in that. She's in both of those.
Yay.
Yeah, Johnny Flanagan, Lizzie Calogero, Johnny Mercer.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of my
Dude.
favorite actresses in the Bay Area. Holy cow.
Yeah. Amy Miles, Joe
don't know.
Paulino, Terrence Smith.
Terrence.
Yep, we know Terrence. Yes.
Terrence,
Yeah.
yeah, he's great. Yeah, he did the Lecter bit on the second one. Allie Johnson, Nikon Robinson, and Jason Harris, and then Mary Powelson wasn't in it, but she was the production manager, and I couldn't have done it without her. So
I
anyway.
know that name. Yes.
Yeah, yes, I know you do.
Yeah, small world. How'd you find the actors?
Oh yeah, Sally. Sally was my casting director, so she helped out a lot. Some of them I already knew and worked with, like Lizzie and both Johnny's and Nikon. But yeah, I hadn't worked with any of the others, and so we worked through. It was a total SAG production, and we in some cases used agencies and so forth. But anyway, Sally was she was great and helping with that. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
That's fantastic. I was just going to ask, where do you see yourself in the future? What do you want to do? I don't know, 5 or 10 years from now. Do you want to continue with? You may do more podcasting, extend Pulp Scripture, or do another podcasting since you've had some success.
I would hope that it would get a next life because it deserves it. It is fun. And I've been thinking about something like that for a long time. I am not religious. Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm not affiliated with any church or any denomination. I am an ex-Catholic, and I'm happy to be former. But those stories are so powerful, and I think they're so important to the human condition that even playing with them the way that you've done, there's still that meaningful part. You aren't ignoring that or dismissing that. That's still in there. I think it's huge.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. To answer your question, so Pulp Scripture is kind of a dress rehearsal. I picked something that was bite-sized enough that I could manage it. But I think for the next one, I'm going to do something a little longer, and a little more ambitious. And who knows, maybe it'll get picked up and made into a movie or a TV show or something. I would say that's like my wildest dreams. But anyway, that's, for now, I'm happy to be working on this stuff. And if somebody is interested in producing one of my plays or reproducing one of my plays, I'm happy to do that. Or I'm open to being commissioned to write some more plays. And so I'm really open to anything, but right now I'm focused on the podcast. So,
nice. Yeah. And it has and considering that it's new, Pulp Scripture, I think you've only had how many episodes? 7?
There's only 3.
Three.
there's 3 that are up so far. There are 9 total, so stay tuned.
All
Yeah,
right. But
that'll
I
be
mean, from the
wonderful.
beginning, I mean, this is a very, very good start. I mean, the quality, I mean, it took us a while. It took us nearly a year to get our quality, to the level that it should be. And you're already there. And I'll say, to piggyback on what Norman is saying, as a Christian, I'm not affiliated with a church, but I consider myself, I grew up in the church. But I've always felt if there's another medium, another way of sort of bringing the gospel, I mean, whether you're a believer or not, but just another way so that we don't get it the good old fashioned way, there can be other ways of either delivering the word or just telling a story.
Yeah.
And not
And
sappy, and not
exactly,
sappy.
exactly, in a non-conventional way. This is helpful. I mean, I could see, of course, some churches will be, very snide about it or whatever, but I could see a lot of millennials are like, hey, this is the way I want to hear the Old Testament. If I got to be forced to hear the Old Testament, I'd rather hear it this way. So I
Mhm.
think Pulp Scripture is a real treat.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All
Yeah,
righty. Well, it's 7:04. Shout
I
outs,
know. Got to
birthdays.
get moving. And so I'm going to do this part because I want to go to the happier place. If you know her, you will appreciate her. Jerry Lynn Cohen died this week. I think she died on the 25th. And when I went with Word for Word to France, we did Lucia Berlin. She played the central character. We picked stories that were fictionalized autobiographical stories. So this was Lucia Berlin's story, and it was amazing. And Jerry Lynn was that central character in those pieces, and she was amazing. She has been a part of Word for Word from their inception, and it caught me yesterday morning. I woke up and it was one of the first things I saw, and I spent the rest of the morning crying and just finding as much as I could to try and make the connection. So I have to acknowledge that happened this week, and that was, that was huge. It's the work that we do, and it's come up. I've had a few conversations with people, and I keep referring to the yay because I'm like, if we don't do anything else, what we do is say, you matter. You are part of the Bay Area theater scene, or you have been part of the Bay Area theater scene. And that defines it more than anything. And I'm working on my own little obit, my own little response to her death. And I mark Angels in America because people don't all know that, but that started in a tiny ass space in San Francisco. And I did not see the original production. I saw it when it came back to town and went to ACT, but I went to that little theater to see something. People were lined up in the dark on 16th Street in the Mission to see shows because we were making theater. And the people who were there, people like Oster Eustace, went on to become part of Bay Area theater. Tony Kushner went on to become, but they were there in that little area at that time. Jerry Lynn was up the road working with what became Word for Word and did all kinds of amazing work. So to me, it so represented how we are a part of what it is to be the contemporary American theater scene. And we will go down in the annals, some of us, and some of us will be lucky if we're even in the fucking footnotes. But Jerry Lynn Cohen's life mattered. It mattered a lot to me and a lot of people. And so that was, I want to mark her deaths. Birthdays. Annette Roman, playwright. Her birthday is this week. I think today. It's weird to be doing it on a Tuesday. Rotimi Akbabiaka. I always mess up his name. I'll be happy to throw him on the list this week. An amazing African-American performer, creator, writer, just powerful stuff. Jessica Ur, she is somebody I got to work with at Piano Fight with the Utopia Theater. We got to do Everyday Alice. And Chico Perdaman's birthday just happened. Chico is an African-American actor. I will never forget him, and I will always appreciate him for this. We started with the African-American Shakespeare Company, and we met to talk about what the company was going to do next. And Chico kept saying, we got to get paid. And I said, but Chico, what if somebody wanted you to play Hamlet? Wouldn't you want to do that? And Chico said, yeah, if I was getting paid. And I needed that lesson at that time, because there was always somebody who will be happy to have you do it for free or for nothing. But if it's going to happen, it's got to be because you care about it. And I know I do. I know lots of people who do. We do these shows because we care. I say to all the writers I know, please, if you want to hear it out loud, call me up. Give me a glass of wine if you got nothing else, and I'll be happy to sit and read, because I think it's important, but it's also important that we find ways to lift these people up. Ben Lippitz, somebody I went to Cal Arts. I was at California Institute for the Arts for 1 year, and Ben was there when I was, and it's so great to look, and we just connected on Facebook last year, and I looked through his history, and I'm like, oh shit, you've been doing this, like out there, seriously doing this. So have I. Yay. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Will Shattuck is a director, has a small company, and I feel bad now. I'm going to look up his small company and make sure I put that in the notes. But he was the assistant director on As You Like It with the San Francisco Shakespeare Festival when I worked with them a couple of summers ago. Sydney Schwint is a fight director in the Bay Area. Greg Manalo, we keep talking about Bendelstiff and the Filipino community. Greg Manalo is this amazing performer who we could not get in Buffalo, but he was a part of the development of it and the choreography of it. Amazing person. Lauren Spencer, African-American actress in the Bay Area. Amanda G. Shelton is the wife of Matt Shelton, who is the daughter of
the great Shelton.
Yes,
Gene Shelton.
Gene Shelton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So the Shelton Theater grew up out of that, and she and Matt have kept it going. Brian Thorstensen is somebody I actually got to work with on stage, and now everybody knows him as a playwright. I'm like, no, we were on stage together in Leroy Jones' The Toilet. Howard Johnson Jr. I just got his girlfriend got in touch with me not long ago to say, A, they're still together, and B, I hired him as a young actor for the Oakland Public Theater, our first show, Blackballin', our first production. Everything before that was sort of scene work and stuff. Was when our first full production. He was in that. I'm going to skip this name because I'm sure you have it. Michael Curry, young African-American actor who is off getting his master's, I believe, right now, but just a powerful performer. William D. Razzo, I'm almost to the bottom of my list. Director and theater artist who is doing all he can to promote other folks he's involved with, Anton's Well, among many other projects. Selena Sue Navarro was part of the Oakland Public Theater when we were just getting started, and didn't have to. We found a playwright who wanted to do an immigration play in 2001. And we were set to do this play. We were going to do a whole season, do a reading, do a development thing, and then put the play up. And 9/11 happened. And her immigration lawyer said, we were about to go to court. You cannot be out there publicly doing this. And we had to pull the play. And we ended up asking a bunch of the actors to stay with us. And we did a reading of Marisol instead. But that's how I met Selena. Rebecca Lasky is somebody I have not met through the theater. I met her through COVID is how I met her. She started dating a singer, and he and she, Brian Dyer, had been in high school together doing musicals. And then they started hanging out in the virtual alley, the alleys, the alley bars, the piano bars, virtual thing that went on during all of COVID. And Rebecca is somebody I got to know through that. She kept talking about how they did these plays together. They did Guys and Dolls together in high school. Her birthday this week. Last two, Karen Amano Tompkins was one of the founders of Thick Description, which was this incredible theater company in San Francisco. And they eventually created what had became the Thick House and is now the Potrero Stage. Her birthday this week. And last one is Chad Jones, who I initially knew as this just beautiful young man, reviewer of theater. And now he still keeps a blog going about theater and performance, but he has also helped to create some spaces, including a space I got to work in a couple of years ago called the Missouri Theater Project. Actually, I don't know if theater's in the name. It's a gallery on Missouri Street in South San Francisco, over just off of 3rd Street. Those are the birthdays I have. It was a huge list because we haven't actually met, and we won't meet again for like a week and a half.
Yeah, that's true. And sorry to hear about Geraldine Cohen. I wish I had met her and experienced her, but I'm glad that we have this forum to represent not only folks who are currently doing things, but also people who meant so much to us in the past.
I
So
realize that we really do need to make it a part of our show that when somebody passes, we acknowledge that.
yeah, exactly. My list is short. Noah Hayden, you may have saved that for me. His birthday is today. He is very active in Ray of Light Theater. I think he actually runs Ray of Light Theater now, taking it over from Shane Ray. But he is a wonderful performer, and I remember working with him when we did Bat Boy the musical. So his birthday is today. Happy birthday.
No, I didn't know. What's the last name?
Hayden, Haydon. Also, who had a birthday 2 days ago, Tom Farris, who is 71 years old. And he and I were on stage. We did 110 in the Shade. And he's done a bunch of things.
The DMT?
Yes, right, the DMT, which I think is defunct now, but he's been a stalwart at the DMT.
Oh, I hope they come back. God, I hope they come back.
I really do too. Yeah, it's a great facility. Any case, on the 26th, Lindsay Marie Schmelzer, we had her on. That's episode 130. She is a wonderful instrumentalist. She plays the keyboard. She plays guitar. She was our musical director when we did what was it? It was Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. And I acted with her when we did Civil War Christmas. So her birthday is the 26th. Happy birthday to her. Also, Dale Albright. You saved that for me. I know that. His birthday, it will be the 29th. And Dale, he actually had I think they're doing something special with Dale on the TBA website. I think he writes maybe an article, maybe once a month or something like that. But if you check out,
he deserves it. He totally deserves it. This man has been in Bay Area theater for over 20 years, as part of Theater Bay Area, the service committee, service organization that has done so much. I mean, among other things, they got the cash grant and then the Atlas grant. They got money to actually put in theater artists' pocket.
That's exactly right.
Because they could just manage it because they were an organization. That was their job. They were like, you guys can give us the money. We will disseminate it to the arts.
Yeah. There are a lot of artists that would not have had their work produced at all if it weren't for those cash grants. And he's also a fantastic actor. I acted with him and a
playwright.
Skin of Our Teeth. Yeah, and he's a playwright and a director.
Yep.
Okay, so that's that. I think I have two more. You did William Razzo Curry. I'm always mentioning my Duke Ellington School of the Arts fam. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing that happened this week. So my niece, my brother's daughter, Aja, got accepted to Duke Ellington School of the Arts for theater, which tickles me pink. And
legacy.
Yeah, I guess the legacy, I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I don't have any kids, mom and dad, so I don't know about the legacy, but hey, it runs in the family. So that's awesome. I'm very, very happy for Aja. Any case, Mel Dyer, speaking of Ellington, he was a graduate of Duke Ellington School of the Arts, wrote a wonderful piece called Mine, which was a horror piece. And he's a wonderful, wonderful writer. He started out in the visual arts department, but he's done other things as well. So I want to give a shout out to Mel Dyer. That's it. Those are the shows that I have. Shows.
Bill, do you have anything that you want? I don't have any shows. Bill, I've got my show coming up Sunday, and after that, I can focus on the rest of the theater community. Bill, are there any shows you want to give a shout out to?
I don't have any shows, but I have a birthday shout out since you guys are doing that. This last Friday was the birthday of Kim Richards, the great talented Kim Richards. She first director of Pulp Scripture, and yeah, she goes way back. She used to be a dancer, and yeah. Do you know Kimberly?
Yeah.
It was her birthday. So shout out to Kim.
Right on. Yeah. I've got a couple of things that I want to push. Silicon Valley Shakes has folk tales from around the world.
Right.
And I believe Letitia Duarte may be doing something there. Also, Radhika Rao, and she is, of course, in episodes 21 and 131 of the A. She's doing something that will be August the 13th through the 29th, and that will be streamed. And I will put a link in that in our show notes. Also, Improv for Life classes. Crystal Brown, and we've had Crystal Brown on episode
Yes,
62. One of my favorite episodes. She was just very, very delightful,
she
and of
is
course,
delightful.
and she was in Anton's Well, the Human Ear. I don't know if you saw that,
Yes.
Norman, but she was
Oh my
fantastic in
God,
that.
no, I did, and I got to see a run through before they went into tech because I was going out of town.
Right, exactly. So Crystal was in that, and she and Luell just carried the show.
Yeah.
Any case, she's teaching Improv for Life. That'll be August the 15th through the 29th,
Yay.
1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'll have a link to that. Pay as you want. So it'll be very, very affordable for anyone who wants to get involved in that. Central Works, they're doing a Central Works script club. You can download and read a play script, read a script, send in your questions for the playwright, and then listen to an audio interview with the playwright. They do this monthly. We'll have a link.
That's
Also,
cool.
yeah, and also I've been pumping Shakes Pod. So that's been going on. That's sort of a podcast dealing with Shakespeare. And
Sure.
they did Titus Andronicus a while back with Alan Coyne. And now they're gearing up to do Richard III. Lamont Rigel will be Richard. Cynthia
Right.
Lagazinski will be the Duchess of York. Lamont was in our episode 122 of the A. Cynthia, it was in 96 of the A. And our wonderful consulting producer, Mallory Samara. And we did episode 151 with Mallory, if you want to hear more about her. She is producing a podcast for KCBS Radio called Connect the Dots, a weekly news podcast hosted by WCBS News Radio host Linda Lopez. Check out Connect the Dots on any podcast app. Two more things. Bendlestiff Studios has also a podcast called The Fobcast. So check out The Fobcast, exploring Filipino American immigrant stories. So check that out. And the last thing, Bridget Dutta Portman, who was on our episode 75, a fantastic playwright. She has a new book out called The Twin Stars, a young adult science fiction fantasy novel that deals with mental health themes. And you can buy it on Amazon, and we'll have the link to that as well.
Wow.
There you go. Bill, did you have a good time?
I did. I had a lot of fun. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It was great.
Yeah,
I
thank
was
you.
thrilled. I was thrilled when we got the email. I was like, oh yes, please, let's do this.
Yeah, shout out to Johnny Flanagan for making that connection.
We'll,
That's
we'll
awesome.
drag him on. We will get him
please.
Yeah,
Please.
we got to drag him on. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say he would be really fun to have on. Let's just put it that way.
on. He
Yeah.
knows where the bodies are buried. He knows
Yeah,
a lot.
exactly.
He and I have been in Bay Area theater for like over 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
No,
He's
it
a
was great
great-
seeing him on stage when you guys did the Arabian Shakespeare did Hamlet. He was
Yep.
fun. So yeah, we definitely have to have him on. So as you probably have, as we've alluded, we're not going to be on this weekend. I think we'll be back on the 14th of August. I think is that the next time.
Are we bouncing that far? We're not doing the 7th?
Oh, the 7th. We'll probably do the 7th. I got to find a guest, but I will. Yeah, so we'll be
Hey,
on for the 7th.
John Flanagan.
There we go.
There you go.
You guys know him, so have him give send
Okay.
an email.
I will hit him up.
All righty. All right. For those of us who are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Tell us what you like and what you don't like, and give us comments on what we can talk about. If you're listening to us on the regular standard operating podcast app, we're on all podcast apps. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, I can even do it right now. You can click on that purple link and you can find the Yay. Let's see if I can find the Yay right now. This is like totally
Shoot.
live. There you
I
go.
just started a YouTube channel for auditions because they want you to put your thing on,
Mhm.
and I can't find it. Every time I go searching for it, I'm like, it's mine, and I can't find it.
Yeah, you'll have to improve on that. Yeah, so here is the Yay right here. They have our old logo. If you pull up one of our recent episodes, then they'll have our latest logos. But in any case, we're also on Spotify as well, and actually Spotify, baby, even a better. I hate to be sour on the Apple
SoundCloud?
Podcast app. No, not SoundCloud, the Apple Podcast app, because it's just not the quality is not quite there. But in any case, we are most definitely on Spotify. Yeah, there we go. So Spotify, and there is the yay right there. You can see that.
Yeah, I'm following you guys on Spotify. So
Right on. You'll get way better sound quality if you follow us on Spotify. And that's it. The Yay is created by theater people for theater people. Oh, I'm sorry. If you're an Android user, you can also go on the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com and you'll find us.
Yeah.
The Yay was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise, or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know. Hit us up. We're at the Yay 3 on Twitter. I'm also at Red Space Clay.
I'm at Hoosier, but if anybody wants to help me out figuring out the Twitter thing, I would appreciate that. God.
Yeah. Help us.
I personally am at Hoosier.
Right on. Bill, do you have a social media that people can follow you?
I'm really miserable at it. I got to get better. I am on Facebook, but go to apocryphamedia.com and you can check out the podcast on that too.
Yay!
Yeah, we'll have two.
And they're also available on all the main podcast sources as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have the links to apocryphamedia.com/listen. Also we have the Spotify link as well. So you got to check out Pulp Scriptures, and that's it. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful Tuesday evening. I'm going to go get some dinner. Thank you so much. And as Norman and I always say,
we gotta find a better sign off.
And we are out.